So there was a lot of very privileged and entitled kids that went to the school that looked down on the people who resembled the person that the school's named for. It's a brand new state-of-the-art school. What are you doing in my school? Dig? And especially a kid like me who showed up whenever the hell he wanted to. The problem was it started with my social studies teacher. Not knowing that I'm a history buff, not knowing that I've traveled the world. His class was first period every day. I was not in first period every day. And when I was, he made me regret being there. He made it so easy to skip his class. Because he knew everything. He'd never been anywhere. He'd been a few places outside of Lexington. Few. But he knew everything because he's an adult. Not because he actually had the knowledge, because he's an adult. And I took relish in checking him every opportunity I got. Part of it was being a petty ass teenager. But part of it was you can't just tell me something is wrong and then you can't back it up with evidence. I got receipts, baby. Hello, Governor. This is Rick Steve New from the Ville. Welcome back. I'm talking about one of the oldest stories in the book. The danger of believing your own hype. I was gonna say we've all been there, right? But have we? You know, that moment when confidence turns into arrogance, when a sense of pride becomes a fatal flaw. I'm talking about the pride before the fall. The classic narrative where a character's hubris is their own undoing. But what does it take to learn that lesson? And what happens when a fall from grace, a real moment of humility, is the only way to begin a new path? I'm taking a media therapy deep dive into Chief of War, Season 1, Episode 5, The Race of the Gods. Now this episode is set around a high-stakes sled race down a volcano, which in some crazy way is the ultimate test of pride. We're going to look at how the characters' sense of arrogance and entitlement cause them to risk everything for a moment of glory. And what happens when pride ultimately becomes their biggest enemy. Hopefully, after this, you'll think differently about confidence and arrogance and how it's a fine line in between the two, and discover the true nature of humility. Let me tell you a little story. When I was in high school, my senior year, I did not come to school very often. Now, what that means is I came to school every day because I had practice every day. So, football, basketball, track, something. I had practice every day, but I didn't like school. Now, again, you probably heard about the trauma after having been returned to the United States after the ordeal with my father.
Hello.
I wasn't in a school mood. I didn't really give a shit about school. I like playing ball. I didn't give a shit about school. Now, that would be something that would be major if I wasn't a smart kid. But I was extremely smart. Oftentimes too smart for my own damn good. Yeah. I was a problem. The school I was going to was a new school, brand new, just been built. And I was at this point in my life where even though I was a senior, I didn't catch a school bus. Now, a lot of times I didn't catch a school bus because I rode with one of my partners who had a car. I didn't have a car. My mom was broke. Extremely messy, ugly divorce from my dad, where he thought that by pretty much starving her out and not paying the alimony or child support that she did, he thought that by not paying the alimony and child support she deserved, that would punish her. And since me and my brother chose her, well, FTK, punish us too. But I was resourceful, I had my ways, so I found ways into other people's cars, and so I could get around pretty easily. However, this school, being named for a brilliant laureate named Paul Laurence Dunbar, was moved from the urban area of town and moved into the very Caucasian area of town. It's by the airport. So there was a lot of very privileged and entitled kids that went to the school that looked down on the people who resembled the person that the school's named for. It's a brand new state-of-the-art school. What are you doing in my school? Dig? And especially a kid like me who showed up whenever the hell he wanted to. The problem was it started with my social studies teacher. Not knowing that I'm a history buff, not knowing that I've traveled the world. His class was first period every day. I was not in first period every day. And when I was, he made me regret being there. He made it so easy to skip his class. Because he knew everything. He'd never been anywhere. He'd been a few places outside of Lexington. Few. But he knew everything because he's an adult. Not because he actually had the knowledge, because he's an adult. And I took relish in checking him every opportunity I got. Part of it was being a petty ass teenager. But part of it was you can't just tell me something is wrong and then you can't back it up with evidence. I got receipts, baby. If you're gonna tell me it's wrong, tell me why it's wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. Back that up. Because if not, I'm on that ass. And I stayed on his. Well, there was another kid in class, wealthy, privileged, entitled, and he did not like me going at the teacher. It was disrespectful. And you know what? I'll give him that. It probably was. But I also found it to be disrespectful at the way the teacher came at me. I am all for constructive criticism. If you tell me something's wrong, okay. Well, why is it wrong? You can't just say, because I said so. The hell? What you mean? This is an institution of learning, my guy. If you tell me it's wrong, why is it wrong? If this is what I read, this is what I've seen, how is that wrong? Well, this boy decided to come at me with his little group of cronies, but I shut him down every time. For one, I don't do disrespect. And even though I'm gonna keep it educational, if you want to, we can get into some gangster shit too. At that point, I felt like I had nothing to lose. You can't hang nothing over my head. You can't get me put off the team based on something I said. Everybody who knows me knows there's a lot of things that you cannot do to me to put me in a light. So he thought he was going to shame me. And I've never had any bullies come at me. And I guess in order for it to be a bully, I have to feel bullied. I did not feel like I was being bullied. However, I did have a little boy who was trying my damn patience. So he thought he was going to shame me by questioning my intelligence. Like every time we took a test, I ain't been in school in 2 weeks, or in that class in 2 weeks. We take a test, I get a straight A. Now all of a sudden I'm cheating. And he had the proof that I was cheating. There was no proof. I just knew my shit. So one day he wanted to, in order to make himself look good, he wanted to set up a debate on certain historical aspects. And he wanted to do it in front of the entire class. Not just our class, the other classes. Okay. Just remember, at the end of the day, you asked for this. Now, he tried to set up with one of his buddies or with the teacher these subjects. And when it was subjects for him, they were around current affairs, political, because, apparently black people don't watch the news and I tore him a new ass. He would quote buzzwords and things he saw on TV with zero understanding of anything he was saying. And then the questions came from me. For some reason, I always had to deal with urban issues and even going all the way back to slavery. Okay, it's how you want to play. Still tore him a new ass. When he protested, when all of the students said that I won the debate easily, handedly. Come to find out, as he's charging towards me, that a device, which was a walkie-talkie, fell out of his coat jacket with a microphone that was going up to his ear, where his girlfriend, she was very bright, was sitting in the audience feeding him all the answers to the debate. Now, because this was a test grade and quite a large one, he failed that test, which caused him, with his already pretty low grades anyway, he thought his money was going to buy him out of it, and he was wrong. And he was, I don't think he was expelled for cheating, for plagiarism, what have you. But there's some consequences. I don't remember ever seeing him again. But again, he was in my first period, so it wasn't a class I made it to anyway. But the pride truly does come before the fall. Let's get into it. Hello, Kaʻiana. This is Reconnecting, new from the Ville. I'm here to talk to you about Chief of War, Season 1, Episode 5, Race of the Gods. If you've been rocking with me for any amount of time, you know I really don't want to do a long recap. I'm going to give you the intro, I gave you my story. I'm going to give you the quote and the points, and then we're out of here. Now I need to remind you to make sure that you comment on this. Leave me a comment. Help the algorithm, whatever it is, leave me a comment. Hit the like, share this. That's super important. But what's also important is that if you haven't just subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Now, anybody who knows me knows that I love my quotes, and I have two. The first is from Henry Cloud, and he says, "Pride asks, who's right? Humility asks, what's right?" The second quote is unknown, and it goes, "Stubborn pride is an entree to destructive behavior. It facilitates foolish actions and is disparaging to relationships." I'm calling this media therapy deep dive, Pride Before the Fall. When pride is unchecked, it becomes a destructive fire that not only consumes a person's judgment, but also threatens to burn down everything around them. Sometimes the real fall of a leader is not a physical one, but a moral descent born of a pride that blinds them to reason and leads them to destroy what they covet the most. Kamehameha's cousin, Keoa, has unchecked pride and envy. He wants the god of war. But Kamehameha got it. His father left it to him, even though he made Keoa the king, and Kamehameha was willing to follow him. His pride got in the way. How dare my father leave it to someone other than me? It is my birthright. Even though everyone called his father one of the greatest kings they've ever had. Everyone said that his father was wise. Why would his father make a choice like that? Unless he knew something. He saw something. Keoa's pride made him deaf to reason, and even his own inner circle questioned his motives, questioned his motivation, and they advised against his actions. Now, this is the first time I've said this name, so I'm probably gonna screw this up. So King Kalaniʻopuʻu was Keoa's father. When he died, he left the king of governing to Keoa and left the god of war, his general, to Kamehameha, who had never lost a fight. He asked them both. They knew Kahekili was coming. How would you deal with Kahekili? Keoa spoke first, and he said he would meet Kahekili on the black slopes of the volcano, and he would win the battle. He would win the war. It's just that easy. And Kamehameha told a story about how when the haules, the Paleskins came, how the battle was won, and even certain battles, how the war was won, but how some battles were lost, and I think in Kamehameha's district, because the chief there did not plan for a long excursion, and they ran out of food, and they became sick. And Kamehameha talked about having the resources needed to fight long battles like that. And Kiowa was disrespectful when he said, even if we did that old stupid ass plan, it would take us 9 months to gather enough food. And Kamehameha says, that's why I started a long time ago. When I heard about Kahekili, I knew that he couldn't be satiated. I knew that eventually he's gonna come here. So I've got food storage huts all around the island at all of our sacred places. At the end of this episode, Kiowa, in a brash and silly move to hurt Kamehameha, burned many, if not all, of those huts of stored food. He had a tantrum of pride. The thing is, did that hurt Kamehameha or did that hurt the people? And that's what pride does, you twist you. He wasn't concerned about the people. He wasn't concerned about who he would hurt, as long as he got what he wanted. The last thing is the sled race itself. Kaʻiana came and asked to counsel Kamehameha. He had seen the pale skins in action. He had seen Kahekili in action. You know, this episode was very interesting because this was Kaʻiana had returned to Hawaiʻi to see his people. And he found Kupuhi, found Namake, found Nahi, Heke. They were all there. But he'd been gone for a long time. And things were not easy. He was a changed man. So when he saw Ka'ahamanu, he told him about, what he had seen. Kahekili's coming. He had to prepare them. But Kamehameha wasn't like that. He didn't want that. He may have had the god of war, but the last thing he wanted was to go to war. He was a man of the people. The sled race itself is a metaphor. While it's a physical undertaking, the fall is not physical. The sled race between Kamehameha and Kaʻiana is about honor and competition. Kiowa burning the food was the real fall. And he descends into acts of self-destructive pride that not only danger himself, but danger every person on the Big Island. And it will have lasting consequences. The most dangerous kind of pride is not the one that leads to a simple fall, but it's the one that leads to a moral and strategic fall. And it usually has devastating consequences for everyone. This is Reconnecting, Steve New from the Ville. Make sure that you like this, share this, and comment if you've ever had a situation like this where you saw the pride came before the fall, or did it happen to you? And make sure if you haven't subscribed already, make sure that you subscribe. Watch all the videos. You might see something speaks to you. At the end of the day, it's all about this, but you gotta use this.